Hey guys, welcome. It's Wednesday at noon, so you know what that means. That means we are here on Impact the World Radio. I'm Cheryl Woods, your host. So excited to be back with you live in the studio. I was missing in action last week in the studio because I went on this amazing business trip to just such a powerful women's business retreat that absolutely stretched me into just a whole new space. You know how you get those feelings of a little bit of anxiety and like you're doing something new? It was that kind of space. Wonderful. With really, really powerful women who are power players in their own right. And I felt like God was saying, okay, Cheryl, you belong at the table. He put me at the table, and I'm excited about what is going to manifest as a result of that. So I'm back home, back fired up, ready to pour back into you and bring you some amazing guests as we do every week, every Wednesday, of primarily women who are just doing their thing and just killing it in the world, right? So impact the world. That is the purpose of the show, is to bring to you men and women who are using their unique gift to impact the world in a big way. And the question that I always want you to ask yourself, those who are joining us through Facebook Live, those of us who are joining us through voxwave.com, I always want you to ask yourself, okay, I'm inspired, I'm motivated by these people I'm seeing on the show as guests, but what am I doing? How am I using my gift? Your gift was not meant to just be kept tucked away neatly on a shelf somewhere collecting dust. Your gift is meant to allow you to create a legacy. That's what Tammy talks about in that song, building your legacy for the whole world to see, and for you to impact the world in a way that otherwise it will never be touched if you don't share your gift. So your gift is your gift, and it should never be in comparison to anybody else. So whether it's speaking, or whether it's coaching people, or whether it's baking sweet potato pies, or whether you're the baddest real estate mama jamma in the country, or the baddest spoken word artist, whatever that thing is, are you using it to its fullest so that you never have regrets, so that you never look back on your life and say, man, I sure wish I had tried this or tried that or used my gift in this way or that way. That's the intention of the show. And so again, we have an amazing lineup for you today. My first guest is a spoken word artist. Her name is Khadijah Ali-Coleman. I'm pronouncing that correctly because I can jack up some names. Y'all know it. Y'all know I can. And let me tell you a little bit more about her. So they call her a mama artist. She's a master teacher and a social activist. She's the founder of the multidisciplinary arts collective called Liberated Muse Arts, and a 2015 Maryland State Arts Council Individual Artist Awardee. She's a singer, she's a songwriter, a playwright, and emerging visual artist. She uses poetry to express, ignite, and educate. She is editor of 3 Liberated Muse book anthologies of creative writing and visual art from creatives around the world. And this is exciting, released her debut CD titled Song of a Space Cadet in 2016. She has performed at the Apollo Theater, debuted one of her plays at the Kennedy Center, and been featured at more than a half dozen festivals. Can you say bad mama jamma? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So you are multi-talented.
I think I am.
You are. Yes, not think, we know you are. How did you find that this was your gift? That using the power of visual arts and writing and bringing to life words through song and poetry. How did you find that that was your gifting?
Well, I realized very early on that I just have a need to express, a need to be able to share with others how I interpret the world. And for the most part, I do that as a writer. But as a writer, I learned that there are different mediums that you can really share your messages in, whether it's through a play, whether it's through a film, whether it's through a song. And so just even as a child, I was always trying to gather my friends to do like a play for no one, or writing stories, really things. I did that a lot being unencouraged, or it not having to be for a school assignment or my mother sending me to my room to do it. It was something that I just naturally wanted to do. But it was always done with other messages I'm receiving saying that's a hobby, or that's not something to be taken seriously. And it wasn't until I really became an adult that I learned that a lot of that we can manifest what it is that we do in the world, whether it's we want to do it professionally, whether we have a passion and it's a hobby and we want to devote a certain amount of time. That doesn't diminish its importance to us. And so, I spend a lot of time fielding questions from folks. Do you get paid for that? Are you doing that? How much did someone hire you to do? And for me, that's irrelevant, because everything that I do is because it's a part of who I am. So,
well, I love that. And again, that's something that we promote rigorously here on the show and through my work, is you being very authentic to who you are.
Exactly.
And how you're meant to touch and impact the world. And it doesn't have to look like what anybody else thinks that it needs to look like. Exactly. Or what anybody else has done. You can absolutely figure out how you want to manifest your unique gift. So exactly. I love that. And it brings for me, it brings to mind the word courage and boldness, to say this may not be something that even family sometimes understands. Because like you said, their question might be, can you get paid for that?
Right.
Are you going to make any money from that?
Right.
That may not be your intention. Right. Maybe it is, as you mentioned, it's going to be a hobby. It's just your passion, and you're not looking to monetize that.
Right.
You just have to know what lane you're playing in. If that's where the lane you're playing in, then that's absolutely fine.
Right.
But I love your courage in saying, this is my gift, and I'm going to absolutely use the gift. So were there any points in time where you felt thwarted away from your gift, and maybe it seemed like, I want to do this, but am I qualified to do this? So did fear ever show up in the conversation?
Right now, what I think more of my life has been being fearful of showing up and being fully who I am, because there's so many people who either try to deter you to be in this one thing. One thing that I experience a lot is I enjoy doing many things. That is just my nature. I'm a multitasker. I like doing things, and I even majored in college in interdisciplinary studies, so I see a lot of connections between genres, between cultures. I see how things connect. I see the common thread between things that may seem unrelated. And so that's why I do many things, is because I'm always just connecting. And for a lot of people, that seems to be, you hear the jack of all trades, Jill of all trades, and that's usually disparaging, that if you do a lot of things, then you can't be good in one thing. And the one thing that I'm good at is being able to navigate different spaces and to do many things. That's what I do. And so when you ask about challenges or fears, I'm very fearful sometimes when I walk into a space, whether I'm working at a job or working with people or a team, is how I'll be judged and how that will work against me, because it's still counter to what prevails in society in terms of being good at many things. Folks just don't believe that that's possible. And so it's like so basically you're invalidating me as a person because you say it's not possible, but that's who I am. So
and let's talk about that a little bit. So I want to expound on that, because I'm a coach, and I coach women who are in business, and one of the things that we do talk about is making sure that you niche down and narrow down, right? So from my perspective, let me kind of clarify what I mean when I say that to my clients. So I do believe that you can be great at many things, but I believe that you can master one at a time. So it's not that I can't be great at cooking and great at photography and great at speaking and that's not what it is, because life is vast and there are so many things that are open to us. But the question is, if you're going to master something, typically most of us, mastery means you immerse yourself in something and you invest thousands of, most times, dollars and hours into really learning that trade or that skill or that craft. And so from my perspective as a coach, for those of you who are business owners, because we have a lot of business owners who watch the show, it's fine to be great at many things, but have you mastered each one so that now you can get out into the world and be the best at it, versus trying to master 5 different crafts at one time. So let me focus on mastering the craft of speaking. And then once I feel like I've mastered that craft, can I then take that and move on to something else? So I have an interest in photography, and I have an interest in going to culinary school, believe it or not. But I'm going to master one at a time, because I know that I can't be pulled in too many different directions. So I like to give the example, if I'm cooking dinner and I'm trying to do a session with a client, and my kid is trying to get me to help him with homework, something's going to get jacked up because I can't master all 3 at the same time. But if I cook dinner, and that's amazing, and then I move on and I help my kid with his homework, and okay, that's done. And now I move on now it makes sense, because I've taken one thing at a time and I've mastered it. So I absolutely agree with you that people can be a master over many things. So I like that you've given yourself permission.
It's about doing the work too.
Yeah, doing the work. Yeah,
and it also, as an educator, it's also about what our learning strategies are, how we approach things. You know, everyone is not the same. How we absorb, how we, and for me, I am visual and an audio learner, kinesthetic as well, and so I'm really quick. Like, someone can show me something and I can quickly pick it up. Certain things, there's certain things that are not so quick. My mother was a mathematician, so math was not very easy for me, but I love learning about math and science. And so that's how I learn, is how can word problems, things through language. So again, our learning styles are different.
Yeah.
So it's so disappointing a lot of times to have people really try to encapsulate what I'm capable of doing, because they know what they're capable of, and to project that on me. And so,
yeah, and if you're around those folks, get around some new folks. That's all I'm saying, is you've got to monitor and manage your inner circle, because it is important that you are around people who are fueling you, right, and encouraging you to live up to your gift, and people who are allowing you to shine brightly in whatever your gift or gifts are. And so that's another important thing that I want to really emphasize, is who's in your, as my friend Dr. Stacey Grant always says, who's in your front row, or who is in that inner circle of people who are saying, you're amazing and you're gifted at all these things, like, go for it. Not the people who, as you're speaking about, who can sometimes try to diminish your style of doing things or what you are gifted at. So let's talk about the Apollo. How did you make your way to the Apollo? Like, how did that happen?
That was so long ago. I was part of just a group of singers here in Prince George's County, Maryland, who we did karaoke, open mics, and things like that, and just part of just a really rich network of folks. And it was like a caravan of people going to the Apollo, and so we went there. So they had the show going on, but they also, the Apollo had weekly amateur nights on Wednesdays, and when you could actually win money. And so I won one Wednesday that we went, and then I was years later, I was invited. I did an audition at Howard University, and I made it onto the show, and that was very funny. Fun and funny. The person who won was dressed up like Bill Clinton and sang Shaggy's. It wasn't me.
So what did that experience do for you? What did it awaken something in you? Did it spark something like, oh, I'm really going for it, or were you already in that space?
No, it was fun. A lot of my work that I do is really conscious art. Like, I'm really focused on transforming space. That's actually the tagline of Liberated Muse, transforming spaces into arts places. I have had some wonderful opportunities, but a lot of the work that I do is really centering the voices of Black women in particular, Black people in general, in spaces where, and to be able to discuss things that are impacting us politically and socially. And so that's the work that I do as an educator as well. I teach communication studies. I'm a college professor. And I homeschool my daughter. So it's a lot of stuff that I'm doing, and arts allows me to really, it's a tool that I'm able to create these spaces.
Awesome. And so then let's talk about this play that you did at the Kennedy Center.
That was fun.
Well, you've used the word fun a couple times.
Yeah, well, that's what it's about for me. The experiences have to be something, for me to continue to do this, it has to be enjoyable. We do so many things as people. I've done so many things. Oh, I'm touching. What is this? We do so many things. I know that I am breaking out. I'm in my 40s now, and it's really about doing things that I enjoy, knowing what it is that I enjoy. And I was invited. It's this young theater company called Too Much Damn Theater, and they were invited to the Kennedy Center's Page to Stage festival that happens annually in late summer, right before fall hits. And they were doing an up-all-night musical where you had to write a musical in 48 hours and then stage it.
Wow.
At the Kennedy Center. So I was like, yes, because I like challenges.
That's me, yeah.
Yes. And so Liberated Muse, we do theater, mostly theater and music. And so I grabbed my girls, and they were down. I was really excited about that. And so I wrote this this 10-minute, so it was a short play.
Yeah.
So 10-minute play, couldn't be longer than 10 minutes. And it was called Miss Trudy's Birthday. And we won. We won all of the audience awards. It was so much fun. So actually, we got invited by the Kennedy Center to be part of the Pages stage this fall as Liberated Muse. And so I have to write that piece that we're going to stage there. But yeah, it was so much fun.
That's fantastic. I mean, that just reminds me of the saying that, your gifts will make room for you. And I feel like that's what has happened in your journey. It's definitely what's happened in my journey. Yeah. When you give yourself permission and you show up.
So you asked me about the Apollo, that inspired me. But the Up All Night musical inspired me to, I got all cocky, I can do this in 48 hours. So I did the 48-hour film project, a month after that in October, and we had to do a horror movie, and we did we put together a film called Bracelet, and we were nominated for Best Score, and that was fun, and we did it again this past about 3 weeks ago. So that is I like that. I like creating on the spur, impromptu. I love that.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to what you said earlier, which is you got to know yourself.
Yes.
And you have to know what fuels you, what makes you feel amazing, what gives you that sense of joy and fun and fulfillment. One of the things I always say in my business is you cannot rob me of my joy.
Right.
I can't take on anything in business that steals joy from me because I worked in a corporate space for 15 years and had no joy. Yeah. No joy. I did it because I knew how to do it. Yep. It earned me a paycheck. I could pay my bills, but there was no joy. Definitely. So now one of the parts of my business is, for instance, before I take on clients, I have to have a session with them. Yeah. Some session either by video or by phone to find out, is there a synergy? Am I really the right fit for you? Are you the right fit for me? Yeah, that vibe. Yeah. Because I don't want to dread getting on a session with any client because it's joyless, because they're draining me. So I have to make sure for me that it really is a fit.
I will admit that, I will say this, and I hope this doesn't, because I actually do coaching too. I hope this doesn't deter anyone from ever hiring me. But I actually had a client once, because I did not do that early consultation, and they were a referral, and I was like, I just can't work with you anymore. Right. And I I can't call you back, because they had this energy that was so absorbing and suffocating. Yeah. And they would just ask me for little, and it would just be, how someone just comes and then all of a sudden they're on you. Yeah. And she was in another state, but that's how I always felt. She was just submerging me, and I was like, I can't do that. It's so important to do check.
It really. And I only learned to do discovery sessions because I went through some cray-crays. I'm just saying. Yeah. You get some cray-crays in business, right? Oh my God. And I had some cray-crays, and I was like, oh my God, why did I take her check? Yes. That was early on in my coaching business, and my husband used to see me fret getting on the phone to have a session because the person was all over the place. Yes. They weren't willing to bring it in, to do the work. And it just used to, vex. It used to make me feel very vexed. I feel And I remember after that, I was like, I will never, ever put myself in that position again, where my business is robbing me of the joy that made me say yes.
That you've created something that you were trying to get away from.
So, you learn. That's the beauty of falling flat on your face and having these times of, you're not uncertainty, and times where it didn't work exactly, is that you learn something. If you're willing to take the lesson, there's always a lesson in it. So we're going to stop talking, and we're actually going to take a 1-minute break, and we're going to have you set up over in the microphone, and we're going to have you give us a little bit of your greatness. Yeah. So stay tuned, guys. We will be right back. All right. Hey, Tanya.
We have powerful words. We have powerful minds. We use our voices, and freedom takes flight. And we're ready to work. We're ready to win. We have a strategy, and now we can begin. We are standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. Now you are a champion. God is my witness. Imperfect perfection. Living my mission and winning. See, we are influencers. We have fear but don't stop. I have the confidence to rise to the top. standing bolder, shoulder to shoulder. Playtime is over. Playtime is over. All I need is inside of me. I am enough, and now I see, yeah, I will reach my destiny, yeah.
Phone is on you. Please, let's give it up. Do y'all do this? For Khadijah, Ali-Coleman. You see how I said it in my soft, sexy voice?
I am the test that was taken, the last leg of the finished mile. I have witnessed the lash of lessons that bruised my innocence, erased my smile. But here I stand, stoically, unafraid to back down from who is me. Yes, here I stand, even after I'm gone. I leave behind my gifts and lessons in my song. Living minds, young and old, gather round to hear tales told of ethereal goddesses who stand in our midst to open our minds as they share their gifts. Bronze-colored nymphs who triumph to lead the way. Coffee-hued angels who sang melodies we still sing today. From humanity's cradle to our present-day lives, around us she exists in the souls of our daughters and mothers and wives. She raises our children, sometimes alone, builds our nation brick by the love she fosters in her home. Whether a teacher or a nurse, an engineer or a cashier, she is at the root of most successes among our people, and it is very clear. Called Etta and Lena, named Minnie and Nina, Zora Neale and Sojourner Truth, so many of them, no greater proof to illustrate the majesty of the being known as Black woman, Black girl, transforming our realities, transforming our worlds. From the history dating back to civilizations early and young, from the womb of the ebony mother is where humanity has sprung from. Scattered around to lands to and fro, we continue to seek and find the commonality that links us all, that is called humankind. Yes, our African mother is our connecting spirit that binds us to our responsibility to our human race. Yet so it is that in our country, the demon of separateness is one that we still face. But our history serves us well if we look back and recall. It is only in unity in spite of race that we rise together and grow. With animosity, we perish and fall. Remember Mary McLeod Bethune. Remember Ida B. Wells Barnett. Let us reflect on their tributes to our world of education, community building, and journalism. Let us not forget. Let us not forget. Remember Fannie Lou Hamer. Let's be proud of our First Lady Michelle. Let us tell our children about their legacies for social justice and health activism. Teach their histories to our children so they know them well. Know them well. Remember Lucille Clifton while sharing with them now the works of Bell Hooks, Alice Walker, and Toni Morrison. While these women still remain, it is in reverence and our commitment to teaching and sharing that our young ones will honor their legacy and remember their names. Remember their names. Come celebrate. And remember the history that tells our tale so very challenged and long. Our future is already a masterpiece, awaiting our presence if we heed the message of their lives, their words, their song. So here I stand, stoically. I leave behind my gifts to you. In my song, in my song, in my song.
Woo, y'all, snap it up on Facebook. Come on now. And those of you who are watching, that was the amazing, the phenomenal Khadijah Ali-Coleman. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our next guest.